Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod. Happy Wednesday. I Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat, obviously. Happy Wednesday. We missed everybody on Sunday. Pat, how are you?
I am very good. I'm so happy to be here and not working and not.
Yeah.
It's been a week work wise. I got to admit, it's 100 degrees out. Worked 12 hours yesterday in the sun the whole time.
Oh,
And today my air conditioner is back on the fritz. So
can't believe it.
if I get a little sweaty, it's not the politics. It's the socialist department.
It would feel very much like you were feeling the pain viscerally.
Right.
You're empathetic like Joe.
Exactly. That's how you have to literally burn me to get some empathy out of me. Heartless.
It's 100 degrees up there. It's so much hotter than down here in LA. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I mean, this week has been pretty toasty.
Yeah.
I got a farmer's tan. Let's see. Can you see it?
I can a little bit. That's good.
Oh
my God. Do you
That's
not
one
wear
day.
Sunscreen?
No, I don't really believe in sunscreen too much.
No. You don't believe in it? It exists. It actually exists.
Fauci.
Whether you like it or not.
It's Fauci.
Sunscreen doesn't care about your feelings.
He owns all the stock.
Big pharma.
Yeah, big pharma and their sunscreens.
Yeah. How's it feeling? Does it hurt? Do you want me
No, I actually feel fine.
Okay.
It's probably looks worse than it is, but I don't know. I have no feeling though, so we're good. How are you doing?
I am good. I'm really good. Thank you. I'm seeing some people be like, put on some sunscreen, Pat, for goodness sakes. I'm good. We didn't have a show on Sunday because my younger son, Xander, had his baccalaureate lunch and then a party for the graduating class. And then last night was the actual graduation. And as always, Josh and I were the only two people wearing masks, except for the other two people in a crowd of like 700. And this is at both events. It's kind of a fancy school that they have very generously given a lot of financial aid to us for, but an Academy nominated director and his wife, because when you value your health and your time and you don't want to miss out on your next opportunities, you protect yourself. It was just really interesting to see that. And actually some workers at the space where the graduation was, but that was it. And a huge
and that's the part that goes missed for a lot of people. It's like, obviously you want to protect the disabled and vulnerable. That's one reason. Everyone should want to protect themselves. But then the third reason, even if you're not worried about your long-term safety, which you should be, obviously, I can't afford to be out of work for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. So how would I survive I would be milking off my parents or some other people.
I mean, it's just really amazing to see how people have just been so propagandized. They just have no idea. I mean, they just don't. They don't know. They think it's just a cult and it's going to be awful. But, there's some people who follow the Reddit rooms for COVID, and they'll post every once in a while just strings of people who are like, it's weird. I've been sick 4 times since January. My kids always say, they talk about it who knows what this could be, building my immunity.
Favorite is the actual articles that get written, a new wave of people getting sick all the time. What could it be?
It's so crazy. But anyway, yes. So we had a really nice time. It was emotional always because those moments, those rites of passage, even though it's mostly I would have rather stayed at home and watched it on a live stream. But my older son Asher graduated in 2020, so they couldn't do any of this. We did one of those drive-through hand you your diploma in the drive-through. So I felt, he was sitting there watching his younger brother have this up, whatever. It's all fine. And again, we are all aware of how incredibly lucky the 4 of us are. But it was emotional. It was a little emotional, but my job is done. I got two kids graduated from high school, off in college.
Empty nest now.
After this summer, Josh and I are just going to have to, talk to each other.
Rent some rooms out. Make some money.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I am such a germaphobe. I could never have strangers in this house. Thank you. All I see your
vouch for that. Okay, should we get this thing started? Wait, we have to do our thank the
yes, we are going to thank
you all supporters and members. We appreciate you so much.
We really do, and you are growing in numbers, which is so amazing. And yes, we appreciate it so much. We might have to start a second page or a smaller font or something, but thank you. It really is amazing.
And I think we have we're almost at the point where we've paid off our subscription fees since we started podcasting for just the the service
for StreamYard. We're almost there. Yeah, we're almost there.
When we hit it, we'll probably leave StreamYard and go somewhere else because
man,
we've been so frustrated with these guys.
Find some kind of alternative because it's not a cheap service and they're not great. So it's kind of like I don't really understand. I guess they're just the only game in town, so they have a monopoly on it. And we would also love to start with our cheers, which is a sort of a bittersweet cheers. It's actually mostly bitter, but international treasure and hero to so many of us. Claire Daly lost her seat to the EU Parliament, and she says, I'd like to thank everyone who voted for me and all of the people I've had the privilege of working with over my time as an MEP in Ireland, across Europe and beyond. I've been honored to have been able to use this platform as a powerful voice for peace, anti-militarism, and neutrality. The result is not a rejection of those ideas. It's a testament to the success and reach of the work we've done that the establishment came out in such force to harm my chances of re-election. Electoral politics is always only a platform to organize from. That organization is going on in communities, workplaces, and universities all over Europe. We continue the fight. She's amazing. I love to hear her say that because we certainly don't want to lose her incredible voice. Even though in her last time at the podium talking to the members of Parliament, her fellow colleagues, they weren't having much of it and quickly cut her feet. So let's watch her.
It's very fitting because that's basically what they did. They ended her term and cut her mic, and now she's gone. Right. But I have faith she's going to be, she's sort of their Bernie, but a little fiercer, cutting to the core more, and stuck to her guns. She didn't suck up to the party in charge.
Absolutely.
But my hope is she gets on the outside and we get the exaggerated version. Like, let's get some more truth. Let's get some extra truth from her.
Yeah. And I think, did Nick Wallace hang on to his seat? I think he might have. They were, I don't totally understand how the system works. They kept, I guess, because it's, oh my God, what's it called? This is not a good sign for the show that I
think it's like the British system, kind of like you have.
Yeah, but where you can vote ranked choice voting. Oh, wow. They have ranked choice. So they had to keep going through. I mean, it was like 17 counts before they realized that she had lost her seat. And when I looked last night, they were still working through Mick Wallace's.
Gotcha.
But yeah, anyway, so this is a small compilation, just 2 clips of her in her last speech where she's cut off. And then after she finds out she loses and the press comes to talk to her. This is Claire Daly. Why don't I see it?
I got it.
Oh, you got it. Thank you.
Although the second Claire Daly clip is not up there.
Well, I put these together, remember?
Oh, you put them together.
I had lots of jobs between 3:30 and 4:30.
Excellent. Well done.
So far, the EU and US response to Israeli genocide has been straight from the abuser's handbook, Darvo. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. And if that doesn't work, sure, just change the subject. So as the genocide in Gaza continues, you want to talk about everything but Gaza. You refuse to put the item on an agenda stacked with every cliche imaginable, from Venezuela to Iran, with pride of place given to the old reliable Russian interference. So across the pond, Special Agent Nancy Pelosi gives the signal, branding Palestine protesters as Kremlin operatives, and like clockwork, the dark insinuations begin in Europe. Everyone can see what you're doing. It's tedious, it's predictable. You've been doing it since 2016, and it isn't going to work anymore. The mass movement is focused like a laser on genocide. Everyone knows it's happening, and Europe is...
I'm sorry, this is a debate with a title, and so you should stick to the issue. Thank you.
Claire, would you have a word with us? How are you
You've
feeling?
no interest in talking to me for 5 years, so I've no interest in talking to you.
I love that.
Yes.
They cut her mic.
Literally cut her, like that's her last.
Yeah.
Her last words were cut.
Yep. I mean, they didn't know, I guess, at that point that she was going to get voted out, but that's what happens when you tell the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so gross. And cheers to Claire Daly. Keep spitting fire. Also,
front.
Pat's least favorite part of the show. I just want to remind everyone, please, to make sure to like and subscribe and smash that notification bell. Follow us, Punch at 5. Thank you so much. Okay, they're done. I hate that part too, but somebody's got to do it.
Can we spin the wheel so I can have a shot or something?
Yes, thank you. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, baby.
Look at that. Look at that. Ask and you shall receive. All my stuff is in weird places today. All right, and then I'm spinning it again.
Spin that wheel.
All right.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, okay.
Just pour a double.
I didn't, yeah. All right. I'm not removing it yet. It's too early, but I'm going to spin again.
Yeah, I do have shots. That's a shot.
Give away all your secrets. Okay. That's getting crazy.
You hit it again? I thought you hit
it again. And I haven't even had my two. Because I'm doing too
baby.
much.
And I'm drinking high octane beer today.
Okay.
Lila. Oh my God. It's going to be a half-hour show today.
Should I remove?
We're going to have to cut it off before I say something really drunky.
Should I remove one? Okay,
yeah.
I just removed one. All right.
Yeah, baby.
Oh my God.
Lila.
Pat, this is insane. And also, okay, wait a second.
What are you doing?
I know, okay.
And you're...
Go
ahead.
Yeah, no, go, okay.
Yeah, baby.
Seriously? That's 6 in a row?
Oh my God. This is insane. I can't even keep up. Okay.
Mathematically, you're killing it. I mean, you're beating the odds so
Yeah, baby.
I don't know if I'm on my 4th or my 5th. Oh, thank God. Okay.
Woo! All right, and remove it. But
and I'm going to remove it. Okay, cheers.
I will play our Say What. Here we go.
This is the most election of our lifetime.
What is he doing?
I don't know, but he looks better than Kamala. Somebody said that online. I think they were right.
I don't know. That's a toss-up. She looks so unserious, but at least she's meeting the moment.
No, yeah, at least she's... Oh, there he is. Now he's happy. Oh my gosh. It's really painful to watch this.
Well, this second part should help. You'll enjoy this.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene retweeted
MGT
this
shared this
and says, I could watch this all day
long. She knows so long as she was denied, our freedom can never be secured.
Obviously, there are so many things wrong with what we just saw there. one of them, which is not in that video because it's not a wide enough shot, is that Billy Porter was there. You know who he is? He's like a fashion guy.
No idea.
No. Okay. So he's like an actor, fashion guy. He's there to the right of the second gentleman, Doug, there, in like a, sparkly gown. And at one point in this event, which was celebrating Juneteenth. So just remember, this is Joe, you ain't black Biden, standing there at a Juneteenth ceremony celebration. And then Billy Porter, who's about to play James Baldwin in a docudrama, like kneels down, kisses Biden's hand.
I didn't see this.
Yeah, it's icky. It's really gross. And a lot of people have been commenting on it. And I guess he even responded, this is 2024. I didn't read everything about James Baldwin. We're talking about other things like civil rights in our movie. And who knows where we were in the history of Israel and Palestine at that time, because Baldwin was, fervently anti-Israel's occupation of Palestine. So it's just a lot of awful things happening, even underneath the visuals of Biden just standing there lost, which is so uncomfortable.
Yeah. And then you've got the MGT thing, you know, with Trump, and it just shows what a shit show that is. And the only way we stop that shit show is this guy who's inappropriate on Juneteenth. His brain's not there. Obviously, he's just, look, that's an optics thing. Maybe he's thinking about the Israeli war or something deep, who knows? But like, then you have him speaking at that little flub at the end there, and his brain just disappeared. You can't translate those words that he said to something on the teleprompter that he missed. You can say it's a stutter, but that's not a stutter.
It's not a stutter. It's so clear. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, we're going to get to this in almost every single section. And as we all know, but boy, they just keep telling us, don't believe your lying eyes, whether it's COVID or, who signed on to the ceasefire deal, or Biden's as sharp as a tack, or, the economy's booming, they don't know how to tell the truth, because the truth would reveal how deep in decline we are. And they need to just grab all that money and resources before total collapse of civilization.
Yeah. And, part of it is just learned helplessness for the public. Like, if you do care about these things, these are your choices. This guy over here, this guy over here. And, what are you going to do? And everyone's like, well, I don't know what we can do. We're the dog on the electric platform hopping around. So,
yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. And I see, yes, he always gets lost on stage. Always. That's his thing. JR, I saw that clip. Oh, yeah. I don't think that that's what actually happened. I think he thought the chair was behind him and he was trying to sit when I watched the longer clip of it. But even that feels uncomfortable. Like, everyone else is standing. It's not time to sit, and you're not close to your chair anymore. And he's like very slowly about to sit down until his wife rescues him from that.
Yeah. That was one that was definitely out of context. I mean, in fairness to Biden. And there were some other clips from that event that were sort of out of context text too, where they're both, he and Macron are looking in opposite directions, but they're trying to find the veterans to shake hands with. And I don't know, but
you're definitely giving him more of a benefit of the doubt on that moment than I did, because everybody was facing one direction and then Biden turns around. Right. But I hear what you're saying. Maybe it was out of his empathetic heart.
But on a basic level, the fact that he can't even take directions. Yeah. And, the way these optics play out, they're very well aware in Biden's campaign. Yeah. And they can't seem to rein in just the basic, hey, when you get done with your speech, come here. And there's somebody waving to him, and he just does his own thing.
I mean, I really don't understand why they don't just always have a handler who doesn't have to look like a handler, who can just be like, oh, and
they do
land the script and just it's like speed out there before he does something.
If you remember 2020, it was Jill. Jill was his handler. When he was thanking his sister you know, every moment she would correct him all the time.
Remember the Easter Bunny kept like swept in at something because he started saying something either to a young girl or something, and like sweet, like you remember. I mean, it happened. I'm just surprised there's not someone right there with him all the time. I guess that would make him look weak, but it looked better than what's happening.
But that's what they did. All of his television appearances, almost all, included Dr. Jill. Thank you, Kimmy, because she's one of those call me doctors, which I have a beef with on every level with every doctor. But
yeah, exactly. But yeah, especially people who have PhDs. Most of them do not call themselves doctors unless it's an education, if you notice.
Well, I am one
Dr.
semester
Jill
away.
And Dr. Bill Cosby. Yes, sorry.
I'm one semester away from being a master. I would like to be master.
I think we're
racist. Let's not go there.
The main bedroom. No, remember they were going to change the name. Like you don't call it the master bedroom anymore. You call it like the main bedroom.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that the origin of master bedroom?
I don't know. I don't know actually.
That's wild.
But there was a whole movement amongst the the lib police who are gouging us for, houses. None of us will ever own a home again, but they want to be politically correct and not call it a master bedroom at Zillow. All right. So that was our say what?
That's it. Let's get on to the show.
Oh, all right. Wow, that is you made up some titles there I like, and now I have to remember
you didn't even see the hashtags.
What our whole thing is.
I don't know. I struggle every time.
Wait, but that's not even right, Pat.
No, 2024 is first.
Oh, that's the Meteor of Death?
Yes, because we're rooting for the Meteor of Death.
That's right. Sorry. Yeah, I've lost all of my humor genes in the last 4 years.
So have I, obviously.
No, it's my fault. Yes. All right. 2024, basically the election updates. Ceasefire talk is cheap. Worst of the week, Taylor Swift, baby. Level 3 biohazard update, lest you forget that it's
that could be COVID or 2024.
Yeah. Economic forecast and one good thing. Awesome. All right. So we are starting with our man, the articulate, poetic Biden, and how is he doing in those swing states, which again, that is all that matters. They never need to show us a general election poll again until they abolish the Electoral College.
Even the polls will show after this, which is just two. I only pulled a couple. This is all that matters. This is what decides the election. If whoever wins these swing states wins, because it's called a swing state because it can go either way. Every other state can't go either way. That's just the bottom line.
Yep. And some of these states didn't used to go both ways, but here we are. So not looking good. And it is interesting to me, though, that Michigan has gotten and Wisconsin have gotten closer, even though those are two places where there is a big, pushback, for ceasefire and against this genocide that Biden is supporting. Democratic Party of Wisconsin voted at its convention today in Milwaukee for a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. This is an important signal from grassroots Democratic activists in a key battleground state in this fall's presidential election.
And you got to realize this is the Democratic Party institutional, the career Democrats. Like when the party votes a certain way, it's people who want to move up in the Democratic Party. Like it's so insider. Like once you get to know a few of these people, it's just greasy. It's so slimy. And they voted for a ceasefire.
I mean, he's got people who are resigning from his administration. He's got, stalwart Democratic Party insiders who are begging him. But honestly, at this point, I mean, I just can't imagine for the people who won't vote for a genocide enabler. Are you okay?
Oh yeah. My light just fell. It was like one of those political rally moments where the flag falls behind you. I said something and the light just said, meh.
Like with the,
So
with the Clintons were doing that interview back in the 90s.
The bookshelf.
No, and the lights fell down on them, remember?
Yeah.
Or almost on them. Yeah.
Well,
so
Well, no. So the event, it was at the Democratic Party convention. God, I've even forgotten his name.
Perez.
Tom Perez was giving a speech, or he was talking to the press, and behind him, it was pre-event. The flag fell over. So that was just super fitting. Like that's why they're going to do it all virtually this year.
Unbelievable. They really are just. I mean, we've gotten to a point now where he won't go to college campuses, which used to be like a destination point for Democrats, right? Young, liberal students, that was one big part of our base. And now he can't go to any college campuses.
He can't, his support, his top tier pundit, allies, I don't know whatever word you want to call it, campaign co-chairs.
Co-chairs. Yeah, exactly.
None of them can show their face in public without getting booed down.
And thank you to all of those protesters. Like, seriously, you all are heroes. None of these people should get a moment's rest or peace of mind for what they are inflicting on the world. All right. How's his job rating doing? Let's see. We got not great.
Yeah, the orange line you want to be going down towards the election.
Right.
Not
because that's your disapproval.
Disapproval.
And this is going from January 2021, where his disapproval was at 30%, all the way to 58% now. Interesting that since December, he's a little better since December. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look,
but the approval has gone down.
This is going to keep going up, right?
Yeah, disapproval is going to go up, and approval, I think, is historically low. I think he's at Jimmy Carter numbers right now, from what people were.
He's at the bottom, and this is, I mean, basically, these two charts are more or less in line, right?
Right.
And this is how his popularity. This isn't, how's his job doing? Just, what do you think of him overall?
Yeah, one of the main parts that he has really lost points on, which he never should have had them in the first place, is trustworthy and empathetic. He's no longer doing well in either one of those categories. And those were sort of, again, ridiculous that he was ever high in those polls for those, for those demographics. But
okay, if you take things back to elections 101, politics 101, it's the economy, stupid, right? So it's personal economy for most people, and people are giving Trump better points on the economy. And you can't fix that from now to the election. So he's going to lose on the economy from now to the election. He's going to lose on young voters. The biggest growth, the change in demographics is the Hispanic community.
Yes.
Which is also skewed younger. And they are extremely pro-Palestine. So they've got so many points against him.
And his asylum ban is pretty horrible. And, I think the other thing that a lot of Latino voters are more socially conservative, but economically liberal. And so with somebody like a Bernie Sanders, or when the Democratic Party was pretending a little better to be in favor of a sort of economic populism, that reverberated with them. But now that they've lost that, then you just kind of go to the few things that matter to you. So now that
both I was
pretty much
just today listening to your favorite NPR.
Oh my God, you're such
I know
a
you guys love NPR out there. But they had two pundits on who Republican not pollster, but a strategist on the right and a Democratic strategist on the left, and they have a podcast together. I don't know who. I have no idea who their names, but they have a show together, and they both agree that Latinos and Hispanic people are going to look at this election and say we were better off under Trump. And
mean,
the
most of
Democratic
country,
guys agreeing with that. Like,
Yeah.
this is where we're at. And he says the messaging, even by the meaning well Democrats, is usually like, hey, let's put a taco truck up at a speaking engagement. Like, that's the voter outreach.
Which is like what Trump did. Remember when he like got all of his stuff from Taco Bell or something? And he
taco
was like-
salad.
yeah.
On
He's like, I see
Cinco de
you.
Mayo, taco salad.
Yeah. Yeah, we're the same. Yeah, I mean, we'll just look at what happened, right? When he came into office, we still had so many of the different protections that were enacted under Trump because of COVID. I don't think Trump is some big, lefty social safety net guy. He doesn't really care about anybody's social welfare, but this was what had to happen at the time. And when Biden came in, he did a couple of things with the child tax credit, and then made sure that everything was not fought for and wasn't included in any must-pass bills, and they all expired. And so we have gone from, that was when he was most popular, is when he first came in, and it felt like he was actually maybe going to do something, even though, he lied about the checks that we were all getting, the number. But the expanded tax credit for children, like that was incredibly helpful. It did, even though it didn't lift half of children out of poverty the way they wanted to say, but it did lift millions of people out of poverty, and then they just let it go. So you were better.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people really were better under Trump.
They were. I mean, they were like, our social safety net system was working, even though compared to other countries in the world, it was very lacking regarding COVID. But there was a safety net that didn't exist before that came into place during COVID.
Right.
And there was no reason to get rid of a lot of it, especially since COVID didn't actually go away.
Yeah. The reason was because they're just as owned as the Republicans by all their lobbyists and big business, of course. I mean, I know, obviously, you know that, but like, that was the only reason. And that was the one time that I think for many of us, we felt like, hey, this is what a government is for. They're stepping in. They should be doing way more, but they're doing something. And now there's not even a pretense. He's not even saying what he's going to do in his next 4 years. Like, there's nothing. What is the government doing for us? Nothing. All they are doing is legislating against speech and making sure they keep passing bills to send billions of dollars of weapons to Israel and Ukraine. That's all they care about right now.
Well, there's we don't have any slides on or anything, but there's a new thing. He just started floating today or yesterday, a plan to make it so medical debt can't get counted against your credit score.
Right.
Which is if that actually happened, that would be a huge deal for a lot of people. I know it's not eliminating medical debt, but you could still go on with your life and just let that go.
Right.
Get a house, car, whatever. But of course, it's his plan. It's already a plan he's got in place for next year.
Just wait.
Like,
how
if I get
elected,
next year,
and if you give me enough Democrats,
then
maybe it's going to happen.
If he couldn't do the damn $1,400 checks, how's he going to forgive bazillion dollars worth of medical debt? He couldn't do the student loan debt.
Yeah. I mean, nobody believes anything because he didn't keep any of his promises. So doesn't give us a single payer, Medicare for all, whatever you want to term it, in the middle of a global pandemic, says he would veto it. Doesn't say I'm canceling all medical debt or working to make that happen. Totally memory hold the public option. Doesn't say, let's get rid of credit scores. Why do we need them? We just started that 40 years ago. We don't need that. It's just another way of shaming poor people. Like, nothing that would actually be helpful.
The really evil thing behind all of this is like all these policies he's promising to change if he gets enough people next election. He's behind why these laws are written that are damning the public.
Yeah.
Like, he's the one who used to be called MSM.
From
see, I did it to why
MBNA, yeah,
because he's from Delaware, but he literally drafted all the legislation the credit card companies want to put in predatory credit policies. He's the one who said they eliminated bankruptcy for student loan debt. Same thing for medical debt. There's some medical debt bankruptcy now, but he's behind all these policies because he was owned by the credit card companies and the banks.
Yeah. Yep. I mean,
You know,
pretty
same with
much
crime
every
bills, same
single
with-
problem. Yeah. I mean, seriously, like every single issue that he came into office saying, I'm going to deal with the police, and just gave more money to them. I mean, even what he wanted to do, the George Floyd bill, was completely insufficient. Said he was going to do a public option, said he was going to do a $15 minimum wage, said like none of it. So he's done nothing, and he's pretty much promising nothing except in 10 years there'll be a few prescriptions that will be lowered or something. Yeah.
And all these progressives come out and triumph this huge momentous leap in lowering the cost of medications for a handful of drugs in 10 years.
Yeah.
Like,
you'll really feel it.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But the important part is that they won't PAC down, which is the
No
title
cringe
to our show.
That's our no cringe. Yeah. So instead of changing any of the reality, which is the problem, they think it's a messaging problem. So here's the scoop. For months now, a group of Gen Z and millennial writers, directors, SNL, you know how well that goes, Parks and Rec, met to pitch ad ideas for one of Joe Biden's biggest problems, reaching young voters. Won't PAC down with $20 to $25 million, plans to air those ads. Their goal? No cringe. Excellent. They did it.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, the fact that is just always where their focus is, it has, you know, again, like with the economy, they will use the metric to say the economy is roaring that completely denies what's happening with the unemployment numbers, and so many people who have just completely left the job field or have, you know, 4 different part-time jobs where, you know, they're
having a job doesn't mean you have enough for the rent.
Yeah. I know we're going to get to the economy stuff, but like, I mean, it never is about tackling the issues or the root causes of these problems. They've got a meme guy, they've got a won't PAC down guy. They got like anything but actually dealing with the issues.
Yeah, and the reason the no cringe thing is an issue to start with is because he paid millions of dollars to these people online, these child influencers, and all they are is cringe. They're terrible. So yeah, they're going to have some better ads. Probably they will probably manage to be less cringe. You know that. But
how do you do that when you've got Joe Biden? They're just going to put him in his Ray-Bans or whatever those are. That's it. That's all they got.
Look, I'm telling you, they will be less cringe because they'll be produced by people that have a filter to understand who's perceiving it. You know,
like
Parks and Rec writers.
They're great, but
if you write comedy,
yeah,
you probably have a good feeling of empathy for your viewer. So, you know, but that's just production shit. It doesn't mean, it means nothing. It means this is where your focus is on changing the perception, not meeting the people where they are on
and it
policy
won't change
issues
the perception
that can actually move the needle.
Right. Exactly.
Because you can put out the coolest ad that makes him look great. And then the Say What video we showed where he walks around the stage and can't read a teleprompter, you know, that overrides all that shit. Because people see through production.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, they know what their like kitchen table issues are. They know that they can't afford a home and they can't afford rent and they can't afford food. And like, it doesn't matter how cool he looks, you know, walking up the stairs with his Ray-Bans on or jogging down the, you know, that thoroughfare or whatever with
tripping on his bike.
Obama. Yeah. And I mean, even just the fact that so many people think that he shit himself on that stage, like that's even a possibility. That's not great, you know, great that's in the realm of possibility.
And that's in the realm of possibilities because I've seen him shit himself on camera before.
At least,
but that one wasn't a shitting himself.
Yeah.
But I have seen him shit himself for sure on camera. Outside the helicopter, one of those times he just stopped and did a little, you know, come on, we know, which whatever. Yeah. Even that, if you could speak and your mind was all there, I'd say I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And neither does he. All right. Yeah. Anyway, so here's the other problem is, you know, it's like when they were all, again, you know, I always go back to the Bernie stuff because brought so much to the forefront, where you saw all the hypocrisy of Democrats, and there was all this, not even a real Democrat. He's not even a real Democrat. And it's like, yeah, but unlike, Hillary or Liz Warren, he's never been a Republican, right? Like, but that's fine somehow. Right. So here, and Biden, who stumped for, God, was it a governor or a senator in the Midwest, a Republican, in like 2019 or 2018, raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for a Republican. And now this is where we are again. He is hiring Republicans to pursue the never Trump voters. And again, they're always going after that small sliver that goes back and forth, as opposed to the millions of people who feel completely abandoned by the party that used to pretend to represent them. If
he had changed nothing but just kept in place the pandemic policies, and didn't, you couldn't, he's going to be sunk because of Palestine for sure. I mean, that's the nail in the coffin for him. But even not being mentally there, if his administration, if we could say Democrats did this or whatever, and he's just a puppet, people would vote for them, because they're like, you know what, I got that $1,400 check for 6 months, not just $1,200 once or whatever it was.
I know, but we got more from Trump, right? Because weren't there 3?
Three checks from Trump.
I mean, listen, if Bernie had turned out to be, if Bernie was the person I wanted him to be, I would have voted for him in the hospital bed, hooked up to, everything, because I believed in those policies, and the people he surrounded himself with, I thought also believe, it's all kind of crumbled down now. But I agree with you. Yeah. If the policies were working for people, it wouldn't really matter. But because he is so ineffective for us, he's wildly effective for the people he wants to do policy for.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. What else do we have?
Well, so celebrities are backing Biden. We got Clooney and Julia Roberts headlining a fundraiser. No shock there. I mean, they're both diehard ride or die Democrats, no matter what the policies are, which is weird because Clooney's wife is a part of the ICC. She was an
international human rights lawyer who helped them design their arrest warrant for Netanyahu and Gallant. Was it Gallant? Yeah. And sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, no. I mean, the point is that even his diehard people were getting stories about them complaining about him, because a lot of this is untenable, and you see the propagandists online that used to push him, vote blue no matter who, ride or die. Some of them have turned on Biden over Palestine. They won't turn on over the cops, because those things affect, they're white privilege, tough on police kind of people to their core. But like, there's something about seeing dead babies that even hits everybody eventually. If you have the, if you see it,
I think it's partly that. I think it's the fact that some of them, I think, now realize that in the International Criminal Court and the Court of Justice, they could be held also liable and complicit, right? So there's also, even though we have now said as the US that we just ignore them, doesn't matter, they don't have any rights to do this. And I think the thing that Clooney was complaining about was there was going to be some sort of fine and like withholding of money that the Biden administration was going to take out on the ICC, and he didn't want Amal Clooney to be implicated in that. It's all
so there's a selfish piece to it,
right?
But
because I haven't heard either one of those people, Julia Roberts or George Clooney, speak out about the genocide or call for a ceasefire or defend other Hollywood people who have gotten fired or let go of from their agencies or lost jobs. Like, they haven't spoken up for anything important, but his wife might be targeted by the Biden administration because she's part of the ICC. So, other big news: his son, Hunter Biden.
Oops, where is it? Guilty. Guilty. All
What
right.
a world. Yeah.
So honestly, I don't give a rat's ass about this charge. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole case is about him applying for a gun permit, even though he knew he was a drug addict. And the form says, "Are you a drug addict?" More or less.
Yeah, it said, "Are you using drugs?" And he said no, which, maybe he wasn't right then. And,
No, I don't. He was. Look,
Yeah.
the case is clear he was. So if you want to
Right.
follow the law, he's
Right.
guilty as all hell.
Right.
I don't have a problem with him getting
Yeah.
hung out to dry on this.
Yeah.
I think the elite people should, fuck it, charge him. Everybody else can't get out of these cases. So
Yeah, I mean,
but
because of
I
Biden, right? Because of Biden, people like, if you're a drug addict with a dime bag of pot, you could
right. These laws
jail.
exist largely because of Biden and his tough on crime policy and the crime bill. But on the other hand, look, this is a charge that exists to be added on to crimes. Usually they rarely charge anybody with this as a crime on its own. It's usually like you committed a crime with a gun and now, you lied on your permit.
Extra. Right.
It's a way to put people in jail longer.
Right.
It's like gang affiliation kind of stuff.
It all just feels like a gross tit for tat with the Republicans and the Democrats. And just as with Trump, like, I don't really care that he tried to hide the fact that he was having an affair with a porn star while he was married, whether it was because he didn't want voters to know or he didn't want his wife to know. Like, if you want to come after him, you could go after him for trying to change vote counts in certain states. You could go after him for violating the emoluments clause. You could go after him for an extrajudicial killing of an Iranian general, right? Like, those are enormous crimes that I think, but the problem is, what are you going to call him out on? Financial corruption or military corruption? Because then they all go down. So this feels like the same sort of thing. It's like, we're just going to do it to kind of embarrass you and be shitty.
Yeah.
But it's not consequential.
So. I don't care. Look.
Yeah.
And especially, like if he truly has gotten himself clean and is not that guy anymore, like, there goes the light again. The light doesn't lie. The light is we're sick of your shit, Pat.
But they could have gone after him for, I think he didn't pay taxes when he was making $50,000 a month with Burisma, and he didn't register as a foreign agent. Like, there are things that actually are important that he did not do, laws that he violated, but they're not going to do that, because then they'd have to go after, didn't Bob Menendez just do that? And anyway, the corruption is so rampant that it's all a joke. Like, this is all a joke. So much so that nobody knows whether this is true or not. Oh, yeah.
And as much as these two political parties work together, like, it's turned into pro wrestling in a way. It's like, we're just looking at this stuff that is sensational, but they won't ever work together really. They do hate each other. Like, they love each other and they hate each other at the same time. But, like,
do you really think they hate each other? Like,
no,
when I see Pelosi's kids hanging out with Trump's kids, I don't know.
I think some of that has changed in the last few years. I think Trump changed that. I think it became too toxic for the associations in a way.
Yeah.
And, if you're a Republican, a diehard Republican, you can't be at a thing with Nancy Pelosi and her kids or something anymore. So, like, there truly is some real hatred among them, but they support the same stuff. They're getting paid by the same people.
Yeah.
But we're going to have more of this petty stuff. And, the rule of law is falling apart because both parties are going to use it against the other party.
Yeah.
And we're telling the world that
don't like that.
international community, international criminal court it doesn't apply to the U.S.
Right. We're going to go storm the Hague.
So it's just nothing matters. If you have money and power, you're good. And we're fucked.
On that note, I think we should spin the wheel, right?
Always.
That's always a good call. All right, here we go. 1 second.
Yeah, baby.
It's not a shot. I can't do it.
And you beat 6 in a row.
There, look at that. We have many, right? So I'm gonna just close it, not remove it.
Yeah, leave it on there. Here,
all right.
Let's.
I'm gonna ask you all to bear with me as a silly mom moment.
Let's do it.
Last week, Pat found a really funny video with all these people trying to hit a golf ball, and it reminded me of something Xander did when he was about 2.5 or 3. So I pulled this clip. If it's not funny enough, just drink another shot or take another hit.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it's cute. So
Okay,
let's
here we
go.
go.
Let's see your kid. You suck, Xander. Do better.
Oh, are you talking about like where I want to
This looks like me golf.
Oh, there you go. Wait, where'd you go? It's not far enough. He's 6'2" now. I can't believe it. He was a little drunk, in his defense.
Fair. Oh, that's a good hit. Come on. You know how hard golf is?
That was a good shot.
Really hard.
That was amazing.
All right, last try.
Whoa. Only
Double
one.
up. That's the way to
Only one, dude. Dude,
that
only
Josh?
one. No. I'm standing right here. You can't do that. You can only put one down there. That's 2. Only one. Only 2. Only one. Only one. Only one. Take one of them away.
Nice.
Two at the same time.
See, he didn't take any shit. He knew.
That is why I don't have a parenting partner, because he thought that was funny. I would have been like, no, I said 1, put it back. And that would have been a timeout. We would have left. And Josh let him do it. And then the little fucker actually hit both of them. And so he thinks he won.
He crushed
He thinks
it.
he was right. That's
So
my life.
does Xander golf still?
Yeah, sort of.
Sort
Not
of?
really. Like they'll go every once in a
Yeah.
while, but
right.
there's a place near us that a fancy school is taking over, but it was kind of just like they had a 9-hole and it was cheap enough that anybody in the neighborhood could come do it. And now it's being taken over.
Gotcha.
So yeah. Baseball. It's bad anyway. You shouldn't golf if you're a baseball player. It's like different mechanics.
Golf is shitty for the environment and it's bougie and elitist.
Horrible.
It takes up so much space and water for grass and whatever. But at the same time, it's like there's so little joy in life. If you became a golfer before you knew that, like I kind of get it. Like I used to like golfing.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you do about it. There's no fix, but
yeah. I mean,
I'm not going to hate someone for being a golfer or liking golf. That's all. That's my point.
I know I've said this before, but I grew up with a father who, in 2000 refused to speak to anybody he knew who was a Republican anymore after the Supreme Court installed Bush. She was like, you might as well have just put me in the ovens with what you allowed to happen to our country. Like he was hardcore. And when somebody said something about golfing, he was like, no, I don't golf. I'm a Democrat. I mean, that's back when, we sort of thought it was okay to be a Democrat. But so I've always sort of had a negative feeling about the whole golf thing.
Yeah.
But,
well, so I mean, just in my defense,
tell me.
The guy who taught me to golf was a black guy who lived on a 9-hole golf course. So it wasn't a bougie place. He lived on this place.
No, yeah.
He lived in this place. It was sort of, I mean, it was great. They were cheap. He had a cheap condo, but there was this little 9-hole course that went through it.
Yeah.
And we worked together and we go before work and sometimes even at lunch. So it was like free.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a nice park basically around his condos.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, that's nice. Yes. Of course, all the grass stuff is horrible with these really fancy places, but when it's at a park and you're sort of walking around and it's not expensive and you don't have to have a golf membership. And I mean, obviously there are all these clubs that like no women, no blacks, no Jews,
all that.
like, right. So, but
the elitist side of it is terrible.
Yeah.
The real problem is that obviously, but like just as a sport, the concept of using so much of the public land for this event that is only available to people usually have money and you're wasting water and resources.
Yeah.
But the one thing I would say about it is like, I grew up with a lot of nature. I lived in Tahoe for years, and there are a few things in life that give you sort of the peaceful experience of taking 4 or 5 hours out of your day and being on the grass and around things. So,
I hear you, Pat, but
it's the joy. You're frozen. I'll show something and we'll get back to, oh, you bastard. I hate when she does that. It just leaves me all big screened. Let's show. Oh, I got another timeline cleanse. Here we go.
And the next contender, please. Your name, sir?
Yitzhak Shamir.
Your occupation?
The West Bank and Gaza.
And your specialist subject?
Human rights.
Mr. Shamir, you have 30 seconds starting from now. According to Amnesty International, which country has imprisoned more than 5,000 people without trial in the last 3 years?
South Africa?
No, Israel. Between 1987 and 1989, which country killed 540 unarmed demonstrators?
South Africa.
No, Israel. Which country has shot dead more than 110 children since 1987?
South Africa.
No, Israel. Which country produces the nicest oranges?
Ah, Israel.
No, South Africa.
Did we both pull that clip separately?
I think so. Did you pull that? Because
So funny. Yeah. I didn't watch that show when it was on like 30 years ago or 40 years ago, right?
I don't remember it at all.
Yeah. But that was from like 30 or 40 years ago.
That's crazy that 30 years ago, people, activists in the know, were screaming about this stuff enough to make it into a political comedy show.
Yeah.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
And we're acting like this all started on October 7th.
Unbelievable. All right. Guess what? I think we are moving on to
Is this our Taylor Swift? Nope, not yet.
Oh,
Israel.
wow. We're just going to Israel now? Or
We got to speed it up.
Yeah, we got to speed it up. Okay. Faster, louder, funnier. Okay. So the big things that are happening, talking about like, don't believe your lying eyes, are just yesterday, right? They UN passed a resolution for a ceasefire. Let's see. President Biden says the UN Security Council just adopted our resolution calling on Hamas to accept the deal to establish a ceasefire with the release of hostages. Hamas says it wants a ceasefire. The deal is an opportunity to prove they really mean it. Blinken, I added the really, sorry. That was my editorial. My message to governments and people throughout the region is this. If you want to alleviate the terrible suffering in Gaza, to get all the hostages home, to put Israelis and Palestinians on the path to durable peace, then press Hamas to say yes to the ceasefire. Here is the UN ambassador, the U.S. ambassador to the UN. Today, the UN Security Council sent a clear message to Hamas. Accept the ceasefire. Hostage deal on the table. Israel has already accepted this deal. The fighting could stop today and hostages could come home today if Hamas agreed to the deal. Well, here you go. Hamas, here go my readers, issues a statement welcoming the provisions of the Security Council resolution and its affirmation of a permanent ceasefire in Gaza, the complete withdrawal from the Gaza Strip, the exchange of prisoners, reconstruction, the return of displaced persons to their areas of residence, and the rejection of any demographic changes or reduction in the size of the Gaza Strip, as well as the introduction of necessary aid for the Palestinian people in Gaza. The movement would like to affirm its readiness to cooperate with the brotherly mediators to enter into direct negotiations regarding the implementation of these principles, which align with the demands of our people and our resistance. Israel rejects Security Council resolution in support of its hostage deal offer, the one that they pretend that they wrote. So the only people in the way, and as we showed, last week, they did I think it was either Middle East Report or Breakthrough News had a video compilation of every single ceasefire proposal that Hamas from October 8th has offered, been rejected every single time by Israel. The U.S. vetoing 3 UN resolutions for a ceasefire, but it's all about Hamas.
But this really is like, it's a matter of how much the public in the U.S. This is PR for the U.S. This is Hasbara for the U.S. population.
Right.
How much we can see through, because we know a week ago Biden put out that this was Israel's deal they brought to the table.
Yeah.
And Israel immediately was like, we don't like this deal. So how is it Israel's deal that brought to the table when they don't like the deal? It's nonsense.
Well, because they don't want a ceasefire unless they obliterate Hamas. Well, that's not up to them. Like, you cannot tell another nation, which should be a nation, even though it's a land that they occupy, that they can't, like, they voted in Hamas. Those are their leaders. They get to choose who their leaders are. Those should not be forced on them. It certainly should not be,
right,
the Capo Palestinian Authority, who basically just works for the IDF. But that's what they want. That's who they want to deal with in the U.S. and Israel. Yeah.
But take them on their face value. All right. Blinken says we should convince Hamas. How am I going to convince Hamas?
Right.
Yeah. We can control U.S. policy. U.S. can control not giving the bombs. They can control certain requirements that lead to a ceasefire, or we don't help you anymore. We turn the entire world against you, which immediately would put in place economic sanctions and all kinds of things that would cripple Israel.
Yep. Yeah.
But none of those are on the table. They're only potentially on the table if blah, blah, blah. But it's only potentially on the table ever from the U.S. There's never like, if you do this, if this red line is crossed, X happen.
I mean, it's all such a joke. Like, and yes, I do think obviously this is where the propaganda comes in. It's just too many of us. And that's why they want to ban TikTok, and, Facebook is putting bans on certain content and all that. But like, they keep talking about this, even 8 months in, even though Hamas said on October 8th, we will give all of the hostages back for a ceasefire. And Israel said they don't want to do that. The other thing is, like, they never talk about all the hostages that Israel holds, which we're going to get to, but like that never even enters the conversation from the US media side. And they never talk about it, with all of Gaza is Hamas, according to the Zionist document. Yeah, I mean, exactly.
All of Gaza is Hamas. All the college protesters are Hamas.
They even said Biden was Hamas, or he said they love Hamas. Remember?
Biden loves Hamas. Like, how does this country have so much control over us? It's just amazing.
We need to talk about the elephant in the room. Many Gazan civilians participated in the horrific events of October 7th. It is also reported that Gazan civilians held Israeli hostages captive in their homes. The world must condemn this in the strongest terms. There are no innocent civilians there.
Well, this is the literal account of Israel saying there are no innocent civilians there. And all the reports of innocent civilians being killed, we're ignoring, but they're saying none of them are innocent.
They either are already Hamas or they're going to grow up to be Hamas. That's how they think. Yeah. Meanwhile, they all served in the IDF, which is one of the biggest terrorist organizations around, right? So like, if you really want to talk about who's innocent and who's not,
Well, I'm 53 and I'm going to grow up Hamas. I mean, it's not too late.
I'll tell you, this is turning a lot of people, because what we're seeing is the absolute domination of a group of people over the last 8 decades, and they can't fight peacefully. I mean, they can't protest peacefully. They'll get shot in the knees and killed and have amputations. That's what happened with the peaceful March of Return. They can't, when they're deals, they're expected just to lay down their weapons and surrender to whatever the deal is with their stolen land. I mean, in what reality is that justified? Somebody steals your house. Like, settlers are coming in the West Bank and with the protection of the IDF, just stealing people's homes. It's
and right now the IDF are giving militias and civilians that want to harm Palestinians information about where the aid trucks are going.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
They're coordinating. Absolutely. So this just happened, was that yesterday, I think, that UN resolution. After, they keep talking about Hamas just has to accept a ceasefire. They've been saying this now for months and months, even though, as we all know, Hamas keeps offering and agreeing to different ceasefire proposals. The rescue of the 4 hostages on the 8th, that was so horrifying to see I mean, again, like the pieces of bodies and the devastation to babies and adults and watching whole families be decimated and has been happening, since the beginning. This was especially disgusting because not only did they use the US pier that had been built apparently to give them food aid, even though there are hundreds of tons of food rotting on trucks that Israel won't allow to pass, which if the US wanted, they could stick US flags on those trucks, withhold weapons and say we're going through, because that's the best way to get aid to Palestinians.
And as we said, the pier cost like $350 million or something in that neighborhood.
And most of it floated into the water.
Right. And it did not, in its entirety of being there, meet 1 day's requirement for food for the Gazans. The entirety of its existence, it didn't get 1 day's worth of food into Gaza. $350 million. Meanwhile, we could just say,
in the food here.
We're going to go in here. U.S. troops are delivering this food. Let's see you attack U.S. troops.
Right.
That's how you do it.
Defunded UNRWA, right? So it's just such a joke. And it's only if you are, just watching cable news or getting the New York Times that you believe that pier was actually a humanitarian pier. But not only did they use the pier, IDF soldiers disguised themselves as civilian humanitarian workers in aid trucks coming into this market during the day and just obliterated. 274 people were killed and hundreds more were injured. And, when you say injured, that's burns all over their body. That's amputations. That's lost eyes, lost limbs. That's injured is severe.
Imagine our SWAT team getting called into an incident and they get 4 hostages out. They kill 250 people around them. 250 people. That's just crazy.
We have so many graphics that I wasn't able to add this, but a former Obama administration official, I can't remember his name now, but did some of the biggest hostage rescues that have happened around the world in the last 20 years, how many hostages were rescued and how many civilians were killed. And that ratio was usually 0 civilians and every once in a while 1 or 2. And that was horrifying. And listen, the US has done awful things all over the world for, decades. So, but this just keeps happening. And then they say, oh, well, there was Hamas there. Oh, well, it was an Al Jazeera reporter was holding one of our hostages in his apartment. But meanwhile, when you dig deeper in, he had an apartment on the first floor and that was on the 3rd floor. But also you don't kill 274 people to save 4 people. They also killed 3 of their own, 3 Israeli hostages were killed while they're saving 4. So even if that's all you care about, one of whom had American citizenship, that is a failure on every level, unless you are a vile person who thinks that Palestinian lives are completely negligible and who cares, and that every hostage's life is worth whatever that is, 50, 60, 70 Palestinian deaths.
Yeah. Well, no innocents, remember, innocent civilians. So that 250 number, in their minds, maybe there were 3 or 4 good civilians there.
They don't even say that. Yeah. They don't even think that.
How do they rationalize it?
But so this is how it was covered in the media. They didn't even talk about it at first. Asal Rada is such a good account to follow. She's a journalist and she does a lot of work on media narratives. But look at this. That's Reuters, CBS News, Wall Street Journal, Fox. I mean, whatever, but they're all the same. Israeli forces rescue 4 live hostages from Gaza. Israel says 4 hostages, including Noah Argamani, rescued in Gaza operation. She became I think just because she's young and pretty, they made her sort of the face of the hostages taken from the Nova Festival. Israel rescues 4 hostages kidnapped by Hamas. We are overjoyed. how Israel pulled off a high-risk hostage rescue. I mean, no mention of hundreds of people slaughtered. It was a grand success. And the same Biden, the White House statement did not mention just, we are thrilled that they were rescued. You could have gotten more than 4. And again, they killed 3. And this was with U.S. help, obviously, right? They used our peer. They used our intelligence. No mention of the people slaughtered.
Yeah, they're hoping the U.S. public isn't tuned into the details. And unfortunately for them, the U.S. public is very tuned into the details here.
Yeah.
And Trump's going to be worse on it, maybe. I don't know. But it's all happening under this guy.
Yeah.
But as far as the hostage situation goes, I did catch this. This is discussing the hostages. So this person tweeted this, or quote tweeted this person. We'll get to their tweet below. But Gazans are using the hostages as slaves. Tell me more about how well they are treated. Right. So
because there's been a whole thing that,
actually thought, let's put this out there to show how badly the Gazan hostages are treated. Here's the information about how she was treated.
It was those 8 shots.
That's your wheel speaking right there. Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
I was held at a wealthy family's home in Gaza. They kept telling me, you should thank God you're with us. There are far worse places. While I was there, they would open the door without knocking, whenever they wanted me to clean the house. This was put out as a tragedy of a slave situation for a hostage. That person probably didn't have. I mean, look, nobody wants to be a hostage. It's awful.
No.
Of course, her situation was also awful.
Right.
Probably thought she could die.
Yeah.
But compare that to the known treatment of all the Palestinian hostages.
Yeah. So here is what we're seeing. These are children. I mean, this is actually a war crime to strip children down. And while you keep them as hostages, many of them are blindfolded. And I don't know if you can see clearly, but this is horrible, but the center little boy, I think, who's wearing sort of like the pink underwear, to the right of him is a man. And it looked there were many different people who posted this picture because it looks as though he is walking on legs that have been partially amputated. There is this torture camp, the base where Israel has detained thousands of Gazans. Okay, that's what they say on New York Times. You don't find out until almost the end of this whole article that a female officer, so this is some of the testimony from some of the prisoners, ordered 2 soldiers to lift up Mr. Al-Hamlawi, who's a senior nurse, and press his rectum against a metal stick that was fixed to the ground. Mr. Al-Hamlawi said the stick penetrated his rectum for roughly 5 seconds, causing it to bleed and leaving him with unbearable pain. A leaked draft of the UNRWA report detailed an interview that gave a similar account. It cited a 41-year-old detainee who said that interrogators made me sit on something like a hot metal stick and it felt like fire, and also said that another detainee died after they put the electric stick up his anus. There are other reports of people who, because they were being tortured and shocked in electric chairs so much, they, couldn't control their bladders or bowel movements. They were put in diapers when that happened. There are reports of people being urinated on. There are people who had to have their hands or feet amputated because the plastic hand ties that were put on them were so tight that they cut off the circulation. And of course, first of all, that's horrifying, but also done with no anesthesia. These are torture camps. That's what's happening. And every single Palestinian hostage who's been released comes back looking like death. And it is interesting that the Israeli hostages, and again, no civilian should be taken hostage. That alone is a war crime. But like, they come back looking fairly robust, so much so that an Israeli news anchor for, I think, Channel 11 was just fired because she commented on the fact that Noah woman came back and looked so good that she says her eyebrows look better than mine.
And that was the person we were just talking about. Who,
the face of Nova Festival.
They walked into her room without knocking. Like that is so telling that is part of the thing that was so terrible. Yeah. Like,
and again, like horrible, like that's scary. Of course, it's awful, but it's not hope.
You have on balance. You have to look
with a hot poker. Yeah. Like, yeah. And, there now are UN reports that they unprecedented scale of violations against children in Gaza, West Bank, where there was no Hamas, and Israel. The UN report says more grave violations committed in occupied territories in Israel than anywhere else in the world. That is what's happening. And when they say things like, well, then, they shouldn't be holding, they're using their civilians as human shields. They either say they're all Hamas or it's Hamas's fault. What are we supposed to do? If they're going to use them as human shields, we don't value their lives, and then they don't either. So we're just going to kill them all.
Well, Hamas can get us to stop dropping people onto metal electrified rods anytime they want. That's the logic. So this is quite literally, these are war crimes that are going to be very much recorded in the history books like the Nazis.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the Democratic Party doing it.
And
doesn't matter. It won't matter down the road that Republicans agreed with it.
Right.
It all happened under Biden. We agreed with it under Biden. Yep. Biden supported it. So supporting Biden is very much like supporting Hitler. I'm sorry to make the Hitler jump, but that's kind of what we're doing here.
It really is. These are concentration camps. Well, anyway, the whole of Gaza basically was a concentration camp before this. But yes, what is happening right now is Nazi level. The way they speak about it, that they're vermin, that they're not even, I don't want to compare them to animals. That'd be an insult to animals, is what they say. Right. And, we showed that clip with, was it with Miller or Kirby last week? I can't remember who it was with, but well, if Hamas doesn't want civilians to be killed, they should stop it. So then what you're saying is the collective punishment, the terrorism is working, and you are endorsing it as a U.S. administration. That's what they're saying. If they want it to stop.
There's no logical way to defend our position on this in any way. If you believe we intend to curb Israel's brutality, we have a million ways that would work to curb Israel's brutality.
Yeah.
We co-sign their mission
in a heartbeat. Yeah.
And whether that's out of fear politically, because they've just bought our political system essentially, or it's because of U.S. interests, regardless, we could change this. Our politicians could change all of this overnight.
100%. And, I'm seeing Zachariah here wrote, the Palestinians made a cake and celebrated the birthday of one of the guys rescued. And he conveyed that story. And Israeli media is saying he has Stockholm syndrome, and they're shaming him for telling the story that something nice happened to him. Remember for a while, they told hostages who were released, they were not allowed to talk to anybody about it. But, they were no longer allowed to talk to the media. What's interesting to me, though, is not a single Palestinian seems to have come down with the Stockholm syndrome, right? Not a single released Palestinian hostage is they did this nice thing for me. It actually wasn't so bad. They let us eat what they were eating. Not one.
If that happened, you would think Israel would love to advertise the world how good their hostages were treated.
Yeah.
They would find one example and say, look,
find one. Yeah.
Look at how good this person was treated.
Yeah. Has not happened. And they keep saying, they parrot the line, we're the most moral army in the world, and even Kirby and Miller and Blinken say things like they kind of throw U.S. Military under the bus and say like it happens anytime there's a hostage rescue, and it doesn't. It just does not. And again, we've done horrible things, but that is not common, and it's not. Yeah.
But even in like hunting down bin Laden, which was enemy number one of the entire world, how many civilians were killed in that? I don't know, but it's under 10. Like,
and they took great pains not to.
Right. And that was somebody you would say, okay, if he's truly the number one evil in the world, if he had to drop a bomb over here and it killed 200, I mean, that's awful. I would never co-sign it. But you could get the world to buy into that was important in this way.
Right.
But to get 4 hostages back, to kill 250 people and kill some of your own hostages, there's no justification that makes that okay. Like, you can't sell that to people if they know it. I mean, if they know the facts of it, it's the least moral army military force in the world.
Truly,
by far. The civilian casualty ratio is the highest in history among all the genocidal countries. Yep. Like, it's the top, not even close.
It's not even close. And the civilian, the whole infrastructure, what they have done to Gaza is, I don't know how anybody will ever recover from this who is at all part of it. Like, there will be so much justified hatred amongst all of these people. I mean, honestly, amongst many of us. Like,
no, the shame will be like Germany's shame for years, which is still present from the Holocaust. And it frankly should be for all these people.
And all the people who were silent. Silence is complicity. Yeah, it is. Just following orders. Like one of the recently resigned members of the Biden administration was asked on, I think, Democracy Now!, like, why are all these State Department spokespeople saying these lines that we know are lies? And she's like, they're just following orders. And she, of course, chose those words purposely. All right. Do we want to get to what? Are we going to talk about some of the firings? Oh, the one other thing I just want to say about the civilians and the human shields, there's some fantastic threads, both Zachary Foster and, oh God, I'm going to get his name wrong. And I think I might even have one here. Eunice, and I don't remember his last name, has just been compiling thread after thread of war crimes and, genocide, evidence of genocide. And one of them is Israel's use of human shields. There are several from these last several months, but also over the past, probably, I think it goes back about 5 decades, on video of them using Palestinians as human shields. So, it is one of those, every accusation is a confession. What do you want to do right now? Yeah.
I feel like we could probably move on, but I did want to comment about Breonna Joy Gray being fired from the Hill.
Yeah.
So my only issue I ever had with Breonna, I mean, look, you can accuse her of provoking debate with sensationalist sort of topics and tweets occasionally and whatever. But my beef was on COVID. She kind of was weak on COVID. But I appreciate her show and that she challenged people directly and had debate. And she was fired from the Hill for apparently the eye roll of a hostage, a family member of a hostage. But it wasn't just that she rolled her eyes at it. It's because she rolled her eyes because she was hearing the same known lies that have been debunked coming out of her mouth. So,
I think I don't know if everybody has seen, it's not the whole clip, but it's a little longer than just the eye roll. Cause I do think it's important to see what she was trying to push back on, which was a lot of disgusting bigotry and racism. But do you not want to show it?
Yeah, let's show it.
Okay.
I think, yes.
Are you pushing the button or am I?
I'm not.
Okay, I'm going to push the button. So this is a little bit of an extended clip. This was at the end of the whole segment. This is a sister of somebody who's been being held hostage, and it's an uncomfortable situation anyway. I think Brianna Joy Gray has said that she did not want even to have this situation occur on the show because of all the discomfort it might provoke. But here is what happened.
This is not okay that we have terror organization that's controlling the free world and people in the West letting it happen and stay on the streets, killing the hostages now, or Israelis must die. What did I do wrong? What did my sister did wrong? Nothing. Nothing. We did nothing wrong.
Well,
this was happening inside our own country. Yeah. And if the world won't help us, we will see 9/11 a second time in the US as well. But we can already see in the United States, in Michigan, rallies that's calling death to America, not condemning terror organizations in Israel or any other place. In fact, is reflecting to your country as well.
I'm just going to push back against the implication that in Michigan, which has the largest Muslim and Arab population in America, that there is any threat of terrorism from our own people. And I would like to clarify also that one of the rationale that was presented for 9/11 was discussed with America's support of Israel's continued occupation of Palestine. So that's neither here nor there. I really do hope that Netanyahu agrees and Israel agrees to the ceasefire deal that could bring all the hostages, including your sister, home. And I'm sure many people watching are praying for her safety.
Thank you. Me too. And I really hope that you specifically will believe women when they say that they got hurt.
All right. Thanks for joining. Stick around. More Rising coming up next.
So she goes back to the believe women with the rape lies and
lies, just known lies. Like,
yeah.
So it feels like a setup to fire Brianna to me.
I'm sure.
Honestly, like,
I mean, they fired Katie Halper before October 7th for doing a radar, which is, like their sort of editorial speech, at the end of the show sometimes on how Israel was an apartheid state. And that was like in 2022, I think, because she was coming to the defense of Rashida Tlaib, who had been talking about it. And she was fired after that. But, there was just this new Times of London report where they really dissected the rape stories, the UN report by Pramila Patten on the rape stories. And it was a really good, thorough job. I mean, this has also been done by Zai Squirrel, by Mondo Weiss, by Electric Antifada, The Intercept. But so now this is a little bit more of a mainstream paper, Times of London, talking about the UN report. And this was Patten. So Pramila Patten, who's the one who authored the report, made it clear there was sufficient evidence of acts of sexual violence to merit full and proper investigation, and expressed her shock at the brutality of the violence. The report also confirmed Israeli authorities were unable to provide much of the evidence that political leaders had insisted existed. In all the Hamas video footage Patten's team had watched and all the photographs they had seen, there were no depictions of rape. We hired a leading Israeli dark web researcher to look for evidence of those images, including footage deleted from public sources. None could be found. And when they say believe women, which also, can be problematic, as we all know, I'm always going to use Elizabeth Warren lying about Bernie, but there were not even women who have come forward to talk about this. What they really are saying is believe Israel. Believe Zaka, believe Israel, because nobody has shown any evidence and no one has come forward. And the police even said, the rape organizations that would take in people who have been victims of sex crimes, nobody had come to them.
There is no proof whatsoever is the bottom line to this. So
yeah.
Something could have happened. Somebody could have been raped. I mean, it's awful. No one's going to condone it. But if you have systemic issues, and this was a systemic plan. This is a plot by Hamas to do mass rapings.
Right.
There's evidence.
Yeah.
And we don't have evidence. We have evidence that it's a lie. We have
Right.
evidence that the beheaded babies are a lie. Israel's own death tracker or whatever, the morgues, you can track deaths of Israeli
Right.
citizens. You don't have beheaded babies.
No. And you have one, I mean, sorry, and it's awful. It's all awful. But there was
one child was
baby
killed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Under 3 or under 2. Yeah.
2 kids
Awful.
died, and
Awful.
one may have been killed by an Israeli military. But for all these lies to continue,
And then for her to go
and we
out
know
on-
they're lies because
Right.
there's no proof whatsoever, and
Right.
stuff like the Israeli reporting themselves that only one baby was killed by Palestinians or Hamas. So when you know this stuff and you're Bree and you're faced with somebody putting this stuff in your face that's just so tiresome that we have to still fight over the basic facts this is unproven bullshit being spewed.
Right.
It's propaganda. She knows
Came
it.
out of a polling company, basically.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
But that's where we're at. Like, the good journalists are losing their jobs. We're down to so few. I mean, I watched The Hill because I respected Bree, even when I disagreed with her.
Unsubscribe. Everybody unsubscribe for sure.
Yeah. I mean, but I liked Robbie Sucks.
He's awful.
But even as an awful Republican, it's good to hear them go back and forth and get him put in his place.
He's a libertarian. Yeah. And then, another firing was the professor who's the historian whose specialty is genocides, Roz Siegel, who's an Israeli scholar. And he was the one who, I think on October 8th, like the very next day, said, no, it might not have been October 8th. It might have been a couple of weeks later, actually. It was after Israel started its retaliation after October 7th. But obviously, there's decades of evidence that this was a textbook case of genocide. That was the person who first put it forward, a historian, a Jewish Israeli historian who specializes in genocide. He was hired recently by the University of Minnesota, and 2 of their I don't know if it's like administrators, board members resigned over it. And there was such outcry from the APAC crowd that they have now, they didn't fire him because he didn't actually end up coming, but they've withdrawn their offer to him. So yeah, you're right. I mean, that's what's going to happen. Anybody who tells the truth, who would be getting a paycheck from a sort of more establishment place, is going to have to either lie or go independent. So they're going to have us one way or the other because everybody's in economic dire straits, Yeah,
I think the problem is the younger people are getting their news less and less from mainstream sources. So, when you fire someone like Bree for being honest, they're just going to follow Bree to the next place. Like they're buying themselves time with the public, and Biden's going to lose and they all know it, but they're like, we have to keep this thing going as long as we can. So we'll put out some propaganda. We'll get rid of the news people reporting the right stuff. We'll hire these influencers. We'll get SNL to do our commercials.
Jazz it up.
We'll hide Biden entirely.
Yeah. All right. Time for something fun, right?
I think so. Let's go.
Here we go.
We're going to hit shots, 3 shots. I'll do 3 shots.
Do 3? I know. I don't have my wine. All right. There's one. I'm pouring it while I spin again.
Remove it, though.
Remove it. I'm going to remove it. 1 second. I'm removing while I pour my shot.
How are you frozen? Oh, you're not.
No way. Am I really?
Yeah, baby.
Okay. Oh, okay. You're here. Love it. See a little Carl Sagan, blast from the past. I froze again.
Amen.
Damn it.
How much money do you think the United States has spent since 1945 on the Cold War? Sometimes I ask this question, and from the back of the audience comes an answer: billions and billions. A huge underestimate. Billions and billions. The amount of money that the United States has spent on the Cold War since 1945 is approximately $10 trillion. Trillion. That's the big one with the T. What could you buy for $10 trillion? The answer is you could buy everything in the United States except the land. Everything. Every building, truck, bus, car, boat, plane, pencil, baby's diaper. Everything in the United States except the land. That's what we've spent on the Cold War. So now let me ask, how certain was it that the Russians were going to invade? Was it 100% certain? Guess not, since they never invaded. What if it was only, let's say, 10% certain? What would advocates of big military buildup have said? They would have said, we must be prudent. It's not enough to count on only the most likely circumstance. If the worst happens, and it's really extremely dangerous for us, we have to prepare for that. Remote contingencies, if they're serious enough, have to be prepared for. It's classic military thinking. You prepare for the worst case. And so now I ask my friends who are comfortable with that argument, including the editorial page of the Wall Street Journal, why doesn't that same argument apply to global warming? You don't think it's 100% likely? Fine, you're entitled to think that. If it's only a small probability of it happening, since the consequences are so serious, don't you have to make some serious investment to prevent it or mitigate it?
Is COVID next? I feel like that's the perfect transition to
yeah,
COVID.
it is. It's our worst of the week.
Oh, we are so behind. Holy crap.
That like mushes into.
All right. Yeah,
that.
Good point.
It mushes into it, and look at me not forgetting. Here we go. Worst of the week. All right. Why did we choose Miss Taylor Swift to be our worst of the week? Oops. You ready for this? Taylor Swift spreads COVID. Thousands of fans fall ill after Madrid and Paris concerts. Oh my gosh. Was that the part that I was supposed to be able to read that's so small? I don't even know.
No,
I can't. Okay, so. Good. Because I can't do it. So. Okay. This is the COVID hospitalizations in Madrid. They are spiking. And now I can't even read the bottom part. What is it?
It's not in it's in Spanish, I guess. Infection.
2023 versus 2024, which is what we're in right now. And that red line is spiking. So here's from the article. To give an idea, the leading Spanish fan.
Wait, are you muted or am I not listening? Oh.
Really?
Sorry. Hang on. Keep talking.
Yeah. Right.
Please keep talking.
Okay. The leading Spanish fan Twitter account dedicated to Taylor Swift held a poll asking followers if they had come down sick after going to one of the singer's concerts in Madrid. A full 35% of people who took part, the equivalent of 3,780, responded positively. In the comments, descriptions of their conditions: cough, sore throat, body discomfort. I can hardly speak, says one. I went on Wednesday and Thursday. On Saturday, my neck hurt, and I spent the night from Sunday to Monday with a fever. Well, who knows what 39 Celsius is for those of us in the U.S.
120
Fahrenheit. Yeah, one of the worst nights of my life. COVID and one of the worst blows, says a third. So here's the fan poll. Okay. Did you go to the Madrid Taylor Swift the Eras tour, and did you take COVID? Did you get COVID, a virus, or a cold? Oh, did you take COVID, a virus, or a cold home with you as a souvenir? See, it's kind of fun. It's a souvenir. So there's the 35.1% who says, yes, we got COVID. This is where it gets even crazier. This is a fan showing her positive COVID test saying, COVID infected by Taylor Swift. I'll sell my antigen test for 5,000 euros. Here's another one. Taylor Swift is so cute. She included the new COVID variant as a surprise in the Eras Tour Madrid.
You go, girl. I'd love saying you go, girl.
Slay queen. This one felt a little bit less happy. This is the one who said, during the weekend, I noticed I felt different because I was feeling very uncomfortable, dizzy. Yesterday, I was coughing nonstop. I took the test today. It came back positive. So this is Taylor Swift. This was even before that, when she was sick in Japan and fans were worried. This was posted by a fan of her in concert. So she's coughing. What's funny though, do you notice you don't hear the coughing on the mic? And even when the mic's away, the singing's still happening.
It's so clear, like awful lip sync action going on there. And nobody's actually saying she herself is giving COVID to everybody.
Well, there she was sick.
Yeah. I mean, look, yes. Yeah. And we know she's not the most hygienic person. Lila, I showed this to Lila earlier, and she got like, she gagged a little bit.
Yeah.
Brother, what's that?
Come on.
What's that, brother?
Sorry.
That is
I can't watch that stuff. I'm so immune to that stuff. It doesn't matter. But
God, so gross.
But I mean, the point is she's gathering these huge events. She's apparently concerned about COVID, but has no precautions in place. And, you know, add that to she's flying around. She's one of the worst people when it comes to harming the environment on an individual level. Like,
that's right. And didn't she like lobby to get that flight tracker for private jets taken down?
She did. She got that removed. Or no, that was that Elon?
No, it was she was part of that effort. Yes, Elon did. Yeah. He got like a Twitter account taken down. She got the ability to track the private jets.
Gotcha.
Removed from what I've heard. So that, but like, listen, she's a billionaire. So we all know, like, you don't make $1 billion by earning it. You do it by destroying the environment and ruining everybody's health and stealing all the resources. So gross.
My beef with her comes from the fact that, okay, I only watched a few minutes of her video that, you know, she had some video out about, they made a point to hype up this video about how real Taylor was because she decided against her team to go after Trump a little bit.
Yeah.
And, you know, oh, it's so important. And, you know, he's just so gross. It's such a damaging thing. I don't care what it does to my career.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, with COVID, you're like, oh, I'll just travel I'll give every country COVID. We'll just have these huge rallies, not tell people to mask, not do anything about it.
Personal super spreader. Yeah.
And I'll be the biggest super spreader there is on the whole fucking planet.
Yep.
Which she probably is based on her fame.
Yeah.
And that doesn't register with her while she's just snotting it up, you know, and coughing on people. And
so vile. Because also, like, I mean, I know we all know all of this, but like, she could say, hey, I can't wear a mask if I'm going to sing. I want to do these concerts for you all. COVID is still out there. Clearly, she's snotting all over everybody, coughing and everything. We've got the, you know, UV air filtered everything. Please wear masks. It's important. I will not be wearing a mask. We know everybody around her is wearing a mask.
Look, don't do any of that. Just be her and say, hey, kids, everybody, COVID is real. You're going to be in a bad place if you get it multiple times. Please do what you want, but I beg you to wear an N95 to my concerts.
That's what I'm saying. Just wear a mask.
And not change any policy, not change the air. I mean, the air is a huge thing with COVID, but I mean, that would drive awareness with such an important segment.
Yeah.
And if you get the Swifties on board, and the Swifties are wearing masks, and they're the sexy girls in school, if you're in 6th grade,
well, that's why
you have the pressure to also, it might spread something. It might help people.
100%.
Could change
which is
the
why
world.
the big courageous move for her to come out for Biden and possibly disenfranchise her Trump supporter fans was not actually so courageous, because probably she doesn't have any more after she started dating the Chiefs guy, right? They all hate her for that. She's so woke and whatever. But the thing that would be courageous would be to speak out about COVID, and that she won't do. So she's not courageous. She's fucking asshole.
No.
Super spreader of COVID.
Kid Rock leaning to the right with his, trans stuff in the Bud Light ban. It's like she's leaning to the left on Trump, whatever, she's left.
It's like the lowest hanging fruit.
Right. Yeah. It's the obvious thing. And
yeah.
So she loses people on the right. I mean, it's a big demographic, don't get me wrong, but she has such a market segment that she can survive all of that. And she could survive coming out and being literally the only pro-COVID awareness person.
Yeah.
And it would make such a difference. And 100%. She won't do it.
Yeah. Worst of the week. Spreading COVID, but she made millions of dollars on tour. So it was worth it for her. It's totally worth it. All right. Are we
right now? Oh my God.
Oh, is she getting you?
Yeah, she is. In all the claws. You heard me unclawing?
All right, I did actually. Are we rolling right into the rest of COVID?
No, let's
okay, spin it.
Wheel.
We're spinning it. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. The spinning is getting to be ridiculous. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, baby.
There you go. I mean, I can barely see. Do we have more than one, or should I remove them? Remove
it. We already showed one. This is the Magic Kids.
Okay, I like it. That's really cute. There's we'll pull some another time, but of the street magician guys who do those kind of tricks that make me laugh. It's all so silly, but that's kind of funny. Okay, moving on to COVID, which will probably end up being our last segment. We never get to the economy. Then again, neither does I almost called it ding.
So wait, we only have 2 topics left. I thought we were so far behind, but we have 2 left. Okay,
we're getting there. We haven't done all of our. We had some good videos on a couple things, but it's fine. We're gonna just plow through here because all right, weekly numbers. New cases. We're crushing it. Here we go. New deaths are rising again. We were in the 400s. We're now back to the 500s. I took away the second still that I had of this graphic with BNO News, who collects all this data. Once again, even fewer hospitals are reporting this week than were last week. So, this is without, I think this was 31 or 38% of hospitals around the country reporting.
Less than half. God damn it.
Yeah.
No, and look, numbers are going to be down if you're not reporting.
That's the best way to do it.
Simple logic. Yeah. So
don't collect the data if you don't like the numbers.
We're getting peaks everywhere. The Bay Area, you wouldn't hear it. I mean, I live 2 hours from the Bay Area, hour and a half maybe. They're experienced one of the highest COVID outbreaks they've had this entire pandemic right now. Literally nobody in the Bay Area knows that. Nobody, because it's just wastewater and it's not getting reported. And it's happening.
Yeah.
So there's epidemics in California. I don't know the other states because I'm a Californian. All I care about is me.
It's going up everywhere. It's going up in New York. It's going up everywhere. Yeah.
And it's all the new strain, which is not being countered very well with the vaccine.
No, they're doing JN1 for the fall vaccine, which is not the strain that's starting to become dominant anymore. It's great. We're always just behind the eight ball. There have been a few new studies that have come out, peer-reviewed studies. One is the rise in cancer after COVID. So, which, you know, a lot of people are like, well, how would you judge that? I think they have been able to track some of the cells that would normally be cancer-fighting cells and see how they have been dysregulated by COVID. But then also there are sort of like a confluence of unusual cancers that are spiking in a way that has never happened before with people who have had COVID, even very mild cases. And as David Wallace Wells is saying, you know, viruses that lead to cancer, that's not an unusual event, right? That's HPV and Epstein-Barr, hepatitis B are all infectious agents that then lead to cancer. 15 to 20% of all cancers. So, and I think that's one thing.
I think what's significant that isn't relayed explicitly in all this is that doctors know HPV led to cancer, right? It took a while, but we know HPV leads to cancer, right? But HPV was a rare event still. And COVID is everybody multiple times a year.
Yeah.
Like everybody, kids.
HPV is sexually transmitted.
Kids are on their sixth, seventh infection.
Yeah. It's a more difficult way of contracting a virus. You have to put more work into it to get HPV. You just have to breathe the air to get COVID. Yes, it is much more prevalent. And we tell people to wear condoms, right? Like, you're going to have sex, wrap it up. We tell that to everybody who's having sex with people who, if they're not monogamous and you haven't been tested, but we're not telling people to mask.
And now we literally have an HPV vaccine, which is still politicized, but it will prevent you from getting cancer from HPV because you won't get HPV.
Yep.
But vaccines are bad because the left just let this issue go and the anti-science people dominate the discussion. And there's no discussion from Biden's administration at all about this stuff.
Because all they talk about is deaths are down. And they are, but all of the repercussions that can happen because of COVID, the inflammation that leads to cancer, the strokes, the, you know, loss of IQ points that will show, the brain atrophy, the dementia, Parkinson's, all of those things can happen even with people who have completely asymptomatic cases. And in fact, there's some crazy billionaire guy who wants to live forever, who's been tracking himself.
Oh yeah, who got COVID.
But he wouldn't have known it if he weren't so focused on his health, right? Because he tests every single day. So
right. So just to clarify, that guy, he's doing the most extreme measure. He's taking every possible thing he can find scientifically to extend his life to try to live as long as possible.
Right. Spending like tens of millions of dollars a year.
Money's no object. He's going to try to live to 200.
Testing every day, realized he had COVID, even though he was completely asymptomatic, would not have known it, as most of us probably have had it without knowing it at different times, or, you know, tested because he already had a baseline. His lungs, they had aged the equivalent of 13 years from an asymptomatic case. So
13 years. So you take your developmental kid, and when these things happen, when you're developing your organs, it is it's like this idea that young people they're primed to deal with stuff, and this is going to set them up for life because they faced this COVID early or something. It's all destructive. But yeah, I mean, COVID is literally airborne AIDS, but we don't even know what COVID is yet. But everything we know is that it's going to be terrible in the long run for everybody who gets it. And the more you get it, we know for sure you have bad outcomes if you get it multiple times.
Yep.
And
even one time, but every time it's cumulative. Yeah.
Everything is focused on the acute stage. So even if we did, I don't even know that we're better at the acute stage, to be honest. I mean, but but that's the accepted
I mean, there are
thing,
fewer deaths, right?
Deaths
So,
are
like,
down.
yeah.
So the deaths attributed to COVID are down, but we changed the reporting. Only a third of the hospitals reporting this.
Right.
You know, all the incentive is on everybody in power and in hospital management and all this stuff to undermine the data on this stuff. But anyway, but the long-term effects, we're so fucked. Like, we're all just ignoring what could happen from this stuff. Hey, we learned how to survive the lead, so let's just keep eating lead.
Yeah. There's no logic to it except how do we make the most money before we're all extinguished. Okay, concussion. It does to your brain. It's similar to, I'm going to read it because clearly I'm not able to to come up with my own synthesis.
Maybe you shouldn't have spun the wheel badly if this mattered so much.
I'm the worst wheel spinner ever. When they applied standard concussion tests to long COVID patients, the University of Denver researchers noticed the same telltale issues. Patients had effectively experienced a traumatic injury to the brain. The only one you got. Here's the other one. Long COVID odds. Wait, what? From long COVID? Oh, lost IQ points. Sorry. When you get COVID, lost IQ points. Listen, I know that IQ testing is like a racist, weird stuff, but it doesn't change from your first IQ test to your second. It doesn't like become more racist. So if they are testing it, that is still like a control group, right? It's not like,
yes,
great. 100%. I mean, it sucks. And like,
we're not arguing about IQ tests being just valid, like but
the shift in the data after you've had COVID, you lose IQ points, right? Recent study in New England Journal of Medicine reveals that people who have recovered from mild COVID cases lose about 3 IQ points. Those with long COVID see a 6-point drop. ICU patients lose 9. Just getting reinfected was associated with losing an extra 2 points in IQ. Just report 90% of long COVID patients had mild or asymptomatic initial infections. I think people are really losing sight of that. Like, that's important, right?
But if you're a genius and you're 130 or whatever they mark it as,
not 130, like 155. No.
Well, it changed. I don't know. They literally changed that.
I cheated.
I know this because I'm a genius.
Yeah.
But they changed it anyway. Who cares? But let's just put it out.
I'm totally joking. By the way, I've never taken an IQ test. I'm just joking.
Oh, I have because
I used to do it like
as a kid. They're like, this guy, we got to test him. Let's get him in some labs right away. But okay, you're one. Let's
you're
just
the
say
one who doesn't wear sunscreen though, and you have like the bright red cancer arm.
Fauci. That's Fauci.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you're 130 and you get infected and you lose 9 points because you got hospitalized, or you lose 6 because it's mild, you just lost 6, and then you lose another 2 because you got infected again, you lose 2. Like,
how many times?
Society is going to be stupid as all fuck if we just keep giving this to everybody. And if you keep giving it to kids, like if you probably isolated this IQ contest to kids, it's going to be a disaster. And we know this. And it goes back to the Carl Sagan. If you know there's a 10% chance of this, even if you don't believe what I'm saying,
invest in your future.
10% chance of this. Yeah. You at least put in air filtration systems that we know kill the virus.
Yeah. And that they have at all of the fancy places, at the White House, at 10 Downing Street, at the WEF, at the WHO from February 2020, when they knew at the CDC and the WHO that it was airborne. Like, that is what is so despicable.
100%. And so, like, unrelated to this, but sort of related to this, I delivered some pottery with my dad. He sold the sculpture, his first sculpture. Kudos, Dad. He sold it for $15,000, which is crazy.
Dad, let's
go. But he sold it to a plastic surgeon place, just a neighbor, but bougie rich people. But I went in there and I was shocked. The air is flowing so severely. The air is just crazy. Like, you're just getting blasted by air everywhere you walk. And it's because the risk to him, to the few people that actually are informed but care about this stuff, they make $50,000, $60,000 off of a nose treatment or all these little things they do. But why would he want to lose that money? So he put that in place because it alleviates the fears of those people. And we're not doing that for our kids. We're not saying our kids should have the same thing, and our kids should. It's so fucking obvious. It's
so
not a
disgusting.
10% chance. It's a 100% chance our kids should have this protection.
Yeah.
Like,
there's a poker player, and it was an audio. It was an interview, and I need to pull it for the next one. But he wears a mask all the time, and all he does is statistics and odds, right? And he was like, they talk about it. It's not the same as it's not like, oh, don't drive a car because you have a 1 in 100 chance or whatever it is of getting in a car accident. It's you're in the car accident, and what's your chance of dying? Like, don't get COVID. It's not the chance of the effect of it, especially on repeat infections. We are seeing how it's decimating our whole society. All these resurgences of whooping cough and measles are not just because people aren't getting vaxxed. It's because
it's not just I didn't eat a vegan diet or something.
We've destroyed our immunity as a society, or we are destroying it. That's what's happening. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, where are we now?
Wait, here. This is the point that will hit us men a lot, or women. I don't know, but
yeah, look at that. Researchers from the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil advocate postponing natural conception and assisted reproductive techniques for up to 6 months, which is 2 cycles of sperm cell production. I didn't realize that it took 3 months after a COVID infection. So don't get pregnant after a COVID infection. Wait 6 months to start again.
And so, okay, most people don't know they've gotten COVID. Most people are asymptomatic.
Right.
So asymptomatic you, who was planning on having a child, you're going to pass on all kinds of risks to your kid.
Well, and we saw last week with a study that we showed that children whose mothers had gotten COVID while they were in utero had a much delayed developmental process compared to kids who were born from mothers who somehow escaped the virus during the pregnancy. So, yeah.
It's not all bad. We're banning masks in North Carolina. we're just
that's
people, places can just say, hey, no mask. You got to free base this air here.
Yeah. Just raw dog it. And they're allowed to just, like, police can rip it off you. And we saw, at some of the encampment protests. And it was really done, you could see in a way to try to humiliate and violate the people they were taking the masks off of. And that's how it's going to be used. They're going to make us all criminals. You can't come into the store with a mask because we can't see your face and we need facial recognition. I mean, there's going to be all different metrics for how they will prevent us from protecting ourselves.
It's crazy town.
Yeah. It's crazy town. Okay. It's also 7:03. It's late. I think we should
save economy
again, but good news. On Sunday for our shit show, we have a friend of show. We're so excited. Steven Semler is coming back. He is fantastic. He's more than a data analyst. He applies it to economics and how, how
he was in one of our graphics earlier, by the way. I just noticed.
Yes, that's right. I mean, almost every show we use one of his graphics. He works with the lever, and
we're going to send him some of your donation dollars.
A lot of other, independent.
Oh, it was the lever graphic. Yeah. No, he's amazing.
He's amazing. So he's coming on Sunday for our deep dive. We will be talking about the weapons that we are giving to Israel, the hostages that Israel holds. He's one of the few journalists who keeps talking, reminding everybody that Israel, I mean, even in addition to the 2 million hostages they had before October 7th, who weren't allowed out of Gaza, since then, but even before then, in addition to the 2 million, they had about 3,000 Palestinian hostages held, detained with no charges for no reason, many of them children. And now they have about 6,000 more And nobody ever talks about that. When they say bring the hostages home, most people are only talking about the Israeli hostages. Nobody even talks about Palestinian hostages. So anyway, we're really excited. He's going to come on Sunday, and that will kind of feed into economic stuff as well.
Yes, let's focus a lot more on economy.
Yeah.
I know we're ending, and I know it's been 2 hours, and I'm going to make you suffer, but I feel like somebody probably wanted to see some pets, and they'll be mad or something.
There you go.
So there's no cats or dogs, but I'm gonna show puppets, and we'll come back and we'll say goodnight with one good thing.
Okay.
But here
We'll
you
be
go.
back.
You're forced.
Yeah.
You're
Don't
forced
leave yet.
to
Get
watch
one
this.
Couple more minutes.
I wanted it, goddammit.
Oh my god, these are cute. These are actually really cute.
Where are we at?
That was very cute. We needed that. And hey, we forgot. And I don't like. We have a couple super chats. Cora,
thank you. I missed that.
Thank you for that. And I'll listen. I love a lot of her music. I'm a horrible singer. I love karaoke. I will sing the crap out of a Taylor Swift song, and it's awful. But yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Reflect the Sun. 10 Punch Up Pod memberships. That is amazing. Thank you, you guys. And Kimmy, thank you so much, you guys. It really means the world to us. We love doing this. We love hanging out with all of you guys. Very excited that we get to do 2 shows a week now. Really looking forward to having Steven Semler on Sunday.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't even know. Okay, earlier when I lost audio, it was Strike unplugged my thing.
Oh.
So sorry about that, folks. But
maybe she needs some consequences.
I can't hear anybody because probably Strike. Who knows?
All right.
But one good thing.
Yeah.
See you next week. Lila, say something if I cut you off and just finish it.
We'll see you Sunday.
Cheers.
Love you guys. Cheers. Keep punching up. Bye.
Next. Sunday, not Wednesday.
Don't tell me I'm young, don't tell me I'm wrong. Don't say that I don't understand, blame it on nuance. Don't say that you know, don't claim that I don't, cause this is not what the world needs, it's just what you want. You ignore the voices, you say that there's no choices when there are, and we choose peace while you choose violence. You ignore what's right when they're in my prayers every night, and we choose love, we choose to sing while you choose silence. And tens of thousands have been slain, but we won't let them die in vain. You'll try to justify the pain, we won't let you forget their names. Don't try to distract from all that you lack, and all that you've destroyed that will never get back. And all that you've done, say what is it? One, a legacy of loss, you know we know the facts. You ignore the voices, you claim that there's no choices when there are, and we choose peace while you choose violence. You ignore what's right when they're in my prayers every night, and we choose love, we choose to sing while you choose silence. And tens of thousands have been slain, but we won't let them die in vain. You'll try to justify the pain, we won't let you forget their names. And I am done all of this messing with our minds. You value money over lives, should start confessing to your crimes. in the face of truth, you just spew lies, won't even call it genocide. I wonder how much was the bribe to ignore the voices, to claim that there's no choices when there are, and we choose peace while you choose violence. You ignore what's right when they're in our prayers every night, and we choose love, we choose to sing while you choose silence. And tens of thousands have been slain, but we won't let them die in vain. You'll try to justify the pain, but won't make history say